Welcome back, guys, to an undisputed session, Undisputed Leadership Summit. And we've got, I just hit my earphones out of my ear, but we've got the legendary Gregory Downey. Welcome, Gregory. I'm glad that you can make it.
Hey, Luke. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And I'm excited for you to share, all your knowledge on the foundation of success. I just want to intro you a little bit because you got a really cool story, man. So he is Gregory is a serial author, so he's penned the book with the legendary Joe Vitale from the very popular movie slash book, the Secret. So if you've never seen that, go check it out. You'll see who Joe Vitale is, and he is a guy that co-authored the book with Mr. Gregory Downey. And another cool thing about Gregory Downey, you guys have probably heard his voice around the Obama days. And I don't know if you're cool with this or not, but can we show a clip of that audio? You guys might recognize him here.
Yeah, let me go ahead and I'll pull that up. That's here we go. And so, you might have noticed the guy that looks like Mitt Romney that's using the pen.
That's so cool, man. So a lot of you folks out there probably have seen this commercial. It went nationwide, and I mean, I saw it late at night as well. I used to see this. I live in Canada, but I've seen this on multiple occasions, and I did not know that I was ever going to meet the Obama pen guy.
That's right. That's my claim to fame. Yeah, the Obama pen guy.
So, Gregory, another thing that's cool about you, before we get into your presentation, because you got a lot of information that you want to share with us on the foundation for success, mindset training for business owners. But if you guys listen to your voice, man, the first time I met you, I'm like, man, this guy's got a voice for radio, and apparently you've done a lot of voiceovers. So you've done the Obama pen care, or sorry, I can't speak today, Obama pen, as well as you've done some video game apps. You've done other commercials, and I mean, what else have you done?
So I did an infomercial for Sleep Easily, which was actually, if you're awake late at night, you'd see it. It's for people that suffer insomnia. It's actually a program for people to overcome insomnia. I've done lots of stuff for Safeway Corporation. They're a major grocery chain around the United States. I've done stuff for the Mormon Church, just a ton of stuff. I've done stuff for actually, I was a voice guy for Clear Channel for a couple of years, and so I did a lot of regional stuff and a lot of statewide stuff for Clear Channel Radio when I was living in Idaho, and so I have a pretty long list of like over 100 credits that I've done voice stuff for. So
that's awesome, Gregory, and you're very fit to teach us what you're going to teach us today about mindset for business owners. So tell us, what are you going to talk about today, and what's the presentation going to entail?
So if anybody's going into business and maybe they're new in business, or maybe they've been in business for a while, but really, if you want to succeed in business, you've got to have the right mindset. Everybody says that it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I honestly believe that a big part of your success is what you think about what you know, and having the right mindset, having a mindset that is based on your outcomes is really what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about limiting beliefs, why we have limiting beliefs. We're going to talk about how to overcome limiting beliefs. And really it comes down to having a mindset where you decide at the beginning how you want things to turn out. And so if you're new in business, if you've been in business for a while, having the right mindset, I believe, is crucial for your success. And so we're going to talk about how to establish the right mindset. We'll talk a little bit about how to program the subconscious mind, and And that's what I have for you. So I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. I'll let you drive it, and if you don't mind me, at some points I might ask you some questions
Oh,
to.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. In fact, and I may ask you questions and have you chime in a little bit, because
Cool.
these things tend to they tend to go better, and they tend to be more informative if there's a little bit of discussion. So that way, that it doesn't sound like I'm just giving a lecture. So let's go ahead and
Awesome.
get started.
Cool.
So the first big question is, what is mindset? Mindset is an attitude. It's a disposition. It's a mood, right? A lot of times people might say that they have a paradigm, which is their mindset. It's an intention or inclination. It's the way that you see the world around you. It's the way that you approach a certain topic. And around business, there is a specific mindset that goes with business, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So let's look at some contemporary examples, right? So if I was to use the concept of mindset in a sentence, I would say, well, you approach him from the outside and you slowly get into his mindset as you watch him. Or I might ask you, the question becomes, how do we know which mindset to cultivate, right? Because in business, there are two prevailing mindsets. The one mindset is that I'm a victim, right? I have no control over my circumstances. Have you ever been in a position where you yourself have felt like you've been against the ropes, that maybe things are coming at you from all angles, and you're like, man, what do I do here? How do I deal with this situation? I don't feel like I have any control. I feel like life is just throwing things at me. Have you ever been in that position yourself?
Oh, most definitely, and I think that everybody has been through this type of thing, and if you're an MMA player, or even an
Exactly.
entrepreneur, especially entrepreneurs, they go through this type of stuff all the time, right? Because we always see that big vision, and then when we're going through the motions, we start going through these breaks that we didn't expect, and
Mhm.
like, hey, it's not happening the way I thought it's going to happen, and then you get so overwhelmed, and you kind of feel let down. But I've definitely felt this on many occasions growing up, as well as now. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, and you feel that, hey, you just need to switch that mind frame, and I
Mhm.
think that's what you're gonna teach us on how to do.
Yeah, I like the MMA example because, there's a time, whether you're an MMA fighter or a boxer, where you feel like you're up against the ropes or up against the cage, and really you're living in a reactive type situation where you're not making choices. You're just reacting to whatever life throws at you. And, there was a time in my life where I really felt like I didn't have any control. Like life was just a series of things that were coming at me. And all I could do was just, go in survival mode. Now, the second mindset is when we believe that I am in control, right? I do get to choose my circumstances, and I call that empowerment. So the first mindset, I don't have any control, that's victimhood. The second mindset is I am in control, and that's empowerment, right? And so everybody has a choice. When somebody's starting a business, or they're wanting to do any type of personal development, or they want to be a high performing athlete, whatever it is that they choose, they've got to make a choice between two mindsets, right? I'm often reminded of the story of Alice in Wonderland, where she's coming down this path and she runs into the Cheshire Cat, who's actually sitting up in the tree. And she stops and she asks the cat, she says, hey, which way do I go? And the cat kind of laughs at her, and he says, well, it all depends on where you want to end up. And she didn't know really, so she just said, well, I don't really know where I want to end up. And he said, well, then it doesn't matter which path you take. And I think one of the funny things that he said is he said, but if you keep traveling, you're going to be sure to get there, right? Meaning that you're going to get to where you don't know that you want to end up if you just keep going aimlessly. And so he basically told her that she had to choose, that she had to make a choice, right? So when I work with clients one-on-one, I tell them, well, you got to begin with the end in mind, right? I don't know, in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that's one of the first principles that he teaches. And if you've ever read the book, you know that principle is begin with the end in mind. And so what does that mean? What does it mean to begin with the end in mind? When you think about that, Luke, what do you think about if I was to say, hey, you got to begin with the end in mind?
So to me, it means the big picture, like I mentioned earlier. So let's say I have a goal for this summit to have 18 awesome speakers that are bringing me great content that will provide for my audience, and that is my end goal, to have those 18 people come on and have drive bunch of traffic. Let's say that I want 2,000 people to attend. So that's really fumbling on my words. So looking at the big picture, so the end goal. So my goal.
That's right. So it's having the big picture, right? Knowing what you want the end to look like. And so what I tell people is to begin with the end in mind is to make sure that you know exactly how you want things to look when you get started, right? So that way you have something to shoot for. You're not just, throwing mud against the wall and hoping that something sticks. And so the first step, right, when we begin with the end in mind, the first step, and this is going to sound a little counterintuitive, but the first step is to know what you don't want, right? You've got to know what you don't want. Now, a lot of people say, well, if I think too much about what I don't want, won't that mean, that I'm going to get all the things that I don't want? And the answer to that is no. And so we have to validate the things that we don't want. If we see the things that we don't want as as somehow making us appear to be weak or broken, right, then we tend to push those things away. And anything resistant, right, is just going to attract more of what we don't want. So I often have people, finish this sentence: whatever you resist will persist, right? And so we've got to validate the things that we don't want. And we've got to bring them out to the forefront and just say, hey, I realize that there are some things that I don't want. It doesn't mean that I'm broken. It doesn't mean that I'm, not capable. It doesn't mean that I'm weak, right? So for me, I thought about, back when I started my business, well, I didn't want to feel stuck, right? I wanted to feel like I could move ahead with confidence. I didn't want to struggle financially, right? I wanted money to flow to me really easily. I didn't want to come across as a pushy salesman. And so I wanted to do things in a way that, created raving fans, and people just wanted what I had to offer. I didn't want to feel unworthy or undeserving of the money that came into my life. And so I wanted to provide good value. I didn't want to make mistakes, right? Because those would just slow me down. I didn't want to be rejected. I mean, who out there, wants to be rejected? And most of all, I didn't want to fail. And so I was willing to sit down and say, hey, these are the things that I don't want, right? And so the first assignment that I'm going to give our viewers is to sit down and make a list, a concise list of 0 to 10 things. It doesn't have to be long, but you're going to make a list of 0 to 10 things that you don't want in your life right now. And this is going to be very important. You want to make this list. You want to hold on to it because you're going to use it again, not just at the end of this presentation, but you're going to use it for the rest of your business career, right? Because it's going to be there are going to be some guiding concepts that are going to come out of this list of things that you don't want. So your very first assignment is to make a list of 0 to 10 things that you don't want. You don't have to do that now. Just write down, make a list of 0 to 10 things that I don't want. So obviously that brings us to the things that we do want, right? And so I wanted to be financially independent. I wanted to be successful. I wanted more spare time. I've been married 20 years. I've got 7 kids, right? And we homeschool. And so that not only makes us insane, but that means that we don't have a lot of spare time. And so I wanted to have more time. I want to create value for my clients. I want to be viewed as an expert in my field. I wanted to be respected, right? I didn't want people to look and say, oh, that guy, he doesn't know what he's doing, right? I wanted to gain respect, and I wanted a steady stream of clients. So the next assignment that I'm going to give you is to write down 0 to 10 things that you do want. Right? Things that really excite you, things that you think, man, if I could have that, then I'd really feel like I'm making some headway and I'm being successful in my business. So that's your second assignment. You don't have to do that now. Just write down, hey, make a list of 0 to 10 things that I do want. So with the don't wants, what I want you to do is I want you to ask this question for each of those items. Why am I not free from the things that I don't want? right? Why do these things keep showing up in my life? Why do I keep getting more of these things that I don't want? And for the things that you do want, you're going to ask yourself, why don't I have that yet? Right? Why is that not manifesting for me? And interestingly, the answers to those questions are your beliefs, right? Meaning that the specific answer is going to be a specific belief. So let's say that, you ask yourself, why am I not losing weight, right? I'd like to really lose some weight. Why is that not happening for me? And the first answer may be, well, I'm not going to the gym. And I'm not going to the gym because I believe I'm always going to be overweight, right? And so if the answer is I believe I'm always going to be overweight, right, then you're not going to be doing the things that are going to lead to losing weight. And so it's a belief. It's a belief that's holding you back. Is it really true that you're always going to be overweight? I mean, can you scientifically prove that, right? Maybe it's maybe deep inside you think that you have some genetic condition or something. And so typically when you answer the question to why am I not free from that yet, or why don't I have that yet, the first thing that comes to mind is generally going to be a belief. Now, what's interesting about that is whether it sounds like a really good reason or whether it sounds like a really big excuse, doesn't matter, right? Because the results are the same. Now, if I ask you, hey man, why didn't you show up to our meeting this morning? And you say, wow, the traffic was bad. That could be a good reason or it could be an excuse. But the reality was, either way, you didn't show up to the meeting. So don't get too hung up on what the answer sounds like. And don't start judging yourself or start condemning yourself and saying, yeah, but that's just an excuse. Just write down the answer and understand that whatever you write down is generally your limiting belief, right? So, so go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to really reiterate what this is and just confirm what you're saying here is, everything, all these exercises here are great because just going through the ones that you posted up right now is making me dig deep inside and thinking of specific things that I want and why I don't have it at this point and why I'm not free with it. So my mind is turning right now. So this is a very great internal exercise because a lot of things that happen, I know the majority feel or maybe not are aware that it's not external. The reason why things are not happening, why it's happening.
Yeah.
Everything starts from the inside. And
absolutely.
I really like this exercise. It goes really deep. Just 5 to 10 questions that could just really unveil a lot about yourself. And then from there, when you see the problem, then you're able to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that you see, you're already seeing ahead into what I'm sharing. No, that's good. No, that's so good because the fact that you said it's internal, right? Because that's the reality. Whatever's happening outside of us, that's really not what's determining the results that we get, right? It comes from the inside. It comes from the inside out, and we're going to dig deeper into that. So thank you for pointing out. That's awesome. So we do not take action according to what we want, right? Everybody thinks that the decisions they make is based on what they don't or don't want. And that's really not true, right? It's based on what they believe about what they want, right? So going back to this weight loss thing, well, let's use a different example. Let's say that I want to fight, in the UFC, but I don't like getting punched. I like working out and I like training, and maybe it's a really romantic, view or romantic desire to fight in the UFC. But if I don't like getting hit, right, I've got a belief about getting hit. Getting hit is bad. And so what are the odds that I'm going to, even take a fight? Or what are the odds that I'm going to want to try to fight at that level? Not very good, right? So we could want things and we could wish that we have them, and we can even be very passionate about what we think our outcome is going to be. But what we believe about what we want is what drives our actions. Because see, our subconscious is in control. How many times have you ever driven home, from some place that you're familiar with, and you get to the drive and you're thinking, man, how did I get here? And it wasn't that, it's not that you're on drugs or drinking or anything. just your brain is like off in left field. You're thinking about,
Autopilot. Yeah.
that's right. You're an autopilot. It's because your subconscious is very confident that it can drive you home, and it does it with precision, right? You're not wrecking the guy in front of you. You're not wrecking the guy behind you. You're operating the gas and the blinker. If you use the blinker, I hope you do. But you actually go into autopilot, right? And it's your subconscious that does all this stuff for you. And it's based on your belief. It's based on your belief and years of experience of driving, that your subconscious believes that it can get you from point A to point B, and it does it with precision, right? It doesn't, you don't have to really even think about it. And so if you have the right mindset, and what we talk about tonight, if you have the right mindset, your success will be the same as driving yourself home on autopilot, but it starts with your belief, right? So we don't act according to what we want. We act according to what we believe about what we want. Okay, so I want you to write this down. This is something that very few people talk about. I learned this from one of my mentors, Joe Vitale, and it's this concept called counterintention. And a counterintention is when you act and behave in a way that's not in alignment with your desires, right? So I want to lose the weight, but I'm sitting around on the couch and watching, America's Got Talent or whatever. I'm drinking a bunch of beers. I'm not drinking enough water. I'm doing all these things that are not in alignment with my desired outcome. And that is a counterintention. So another great way to identify limiting beliefs in your life is to look at where your counterintentions are. Ask yourself, what is it that I really want, but how am I behaving on the other hand, right? What are my habits? What are my dominant actions? Are they a direct reflection of what I want, or are they out of alignment? And if they're out of alignment, then we know that there's a limiting belief in there somewhere, because my beliefs are always going to guide my actions. So counterintention. So the next assignment, right? Okay, folks, what I'm going to have you do, excuse me, I want you to take some time over the next few days, maybe over the next week, right? And I want you to look at the areas of your life where you are acting out of alignment with your desired outcomes. This is counterintention. And if you have counterintention going on, which I know you do, otherwise you wouldn't be here, that's going to be, right, where your beliefs are jacking up your life, right? You're not acting in alignment with your desired outcomes. That is counterintention. So write those down. Be brutal with yourself. Don't hold anything back, right? This is just between you and yourself. This is between you and the part of you that wants to have success, right? Nobody's going to look at this, right? So just be honest and say, man, I am not acting in alignment with my desired outcomes in this area or this area or this area. And just get really real and point it out, because if you address it, if you're willing to identify it, that's the first step to changing it. And I want to help you change it. And that's why I'm here. So let's keep moving. So, okay, now the reality is, if you want a different result, you've got to create some new beliefs, right? So if you are living in counterintention, if you have limiting beliefs, you've got to have different beliefs if you want to get a different result. I think it was Einstein that said the same thinking that brings you into a problem can never solve the problem, right? So if you want to get a different result, we've got to create some different belief. So to create new beliefs, you've got to be willing to let go of the old beliefs. These are beliefs that are not serving you, right? But sometimes it's difficult. We hold on to our beliefs the same way that we hold on to maybe old friends that really aren't friends at all, because your limiting beliefs are your frenemies, right? You're used to them.
Right. Yeah.
They make you feel comfortable in a way because that's what you're used to experiencing, but they're not serving you and they're not getting you to where you really want to be. So you got to be willing to let go of those beliefs. And I'm going to show you some amazing steps that are going to help you learn to clear your own limiting beliefs. And it's going to just blow the lid off your brain. So you got to ask yourself, what beliefs are holding me back, right? What's holding you down? What areas of your life do you know that you really need to change some belief in order to reach your true potential, right? I know it's not easy. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, because when we admit that we're being held back, then we have to admit that, that we're not really living the life that we want. And our ego is programmed to try to defend us against feeling uncomfortable, right? So sometimes we make up excuses and we try to rationalize and justify why we're in the place that we're in. So you got to be willing to let go of those old beliefs and to really say, okay, this is holding me down. So a new mindset, it's a new set of beliefs about what's possible for you. So think about that. So, what is it that you really want? What do you believe is possible? What things have you dismissed because you thought, oh man, maybe that'll never happen for me, right? One of the greatest stories ever told is about a guy that's actually a good friend of mine. His name's Daniel Rudiger, right? But he goes by Rudy. When he was just 9 years old, 10 years old, he made a declaration to his family that he was going to go to Notre Dame. And he was absolutely ridiculed, right? Notre Dame's just for rich kids. Notre Dame's for smart kids. It's not for Rudigers. Most people don't know because they don't talk about it in the movie, but he came from 14 kids. There were 14 kids in that family. And not only did he not go directly to Notre Dame after high school, he spent some time in the Navy, which they don't talk about in the film. And why is that important to know? Because he developed some new beliefs about what was possible for him. If any of you have seen the movie, you know the story that he actually did get to play for Notre Dame. He played for 2 plays, and he was carried off of the field at the end. Most people don't know that he was like 27 years old when that happened. 27.
Wow.
So he had been in the Navy, had come home, gone back to work in the plant where his family worked, and and was in the plant for like 2 years before he decided that he was really going to leave and go to Notre Dame. And it took a tragedy in his life. It took his best friend Pete actually dying for him to decide, I need to really get real about what I'm going to do because, time is running out for me. If I don't do this now, it's not going to happen. He never let anybody rob him of the belief of what was possible for him. So you got to ask yourself, if you knew that you couldn't fail, what would your goals be? Right? What do you believe is possible for you if you knew that it was impossible to fail? Now, this is a very important concept because I think a lot of people don't really realize where those desires come from. Now, I believe that all desire, that everything that you want to accomplish, that helps you to further manifest your greatness, that it all comes from a divine source. Right? That those desires are put in you by a divine source. Now, I was listening to Denzel Washington a little while ago. It's been a few weeks now, but one of the things that Denzel taught, and he was talking to a group of group of community theater participants, and he said, the very fact that you desire to have success is proof in advance that it's already yours. That desire is put in you by a divine source. It's already yours. All you have to do is you have to reach out and take it, right? You have to take steps. Steve Harvey says that you got to jump, right? That every successful person at some point has to jump. I mean, look at what you're doing. Look at the great things that you're doing. Look at the people that you're bringing together, Luke. It all started as an idea. What's possible for me? Can I bring these amazing people together and change lives worldwide? And it turns out that you can, right? And you are. But it started out with what's possible for me.
Yeah, and I also got that the little voice in my head saying, "You can't do this. These guys are too big. How are you gonna get these guys?" But going back to some of the things you're talking about here, I've always had this belief that I could do something like this, and it also followed because of my passion, and I've always wanted to have yourself and everybody else that's on the speaker panel to come on here, and I wanted to really rub shoulders with you guys, and I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter what happens. If they say, what's the worst that they can do is say no, right?
Yeah.
I've been through worse. I've been a lot worse. But so that belief in me has always been there, and this is an idea that I've had for quite some time now. And I guess you're going to get into this afterwards, but I planted that seed, and I kept feeding it into me subconsciously, and until it became subconscious. And then day I wanted to do it, it just became so seamless that, you're here with
Yeah.
us, sharing this content.
Well, who would have ever thought, when I got the idea that I was going to write a book, I actually went to Joe Vitale. It's kind of funny how the story happened, but I thought, okay, well, I know I want to write a book, and I want to get started, and I was selling myself a little short, and I get a hold of Joe, and I said, Joe, I've got this idea for a book, and I want to run it by you. He says, okay, and I said, well, I want to write a commentary on the Attractor Factor, which is one of his most popular books, and he said, well, why would you do that? And I said, I said, it's something that I use in my work with my students all the time. And I said, it's, they're principles that I really believe in. And he said, I've got a better idea. He said, why don't we write a book? And he said, you'll write most of it, of course. He said, well, why don't we write a book, and why don't we call it Manifesting Miracles and My Life as a Miracles Coach? And so that was the title that we started with. And I thought about it, and I said, okay. I said, what do you propose, dude? And he said, well, why don't you write the part that you want to write? And he said, we'll just get together and we'll talk about what I'll come in and write something after you. So I said, okay. And that was kind of how it started. I really didn't know how it was going to look. And then I got back to him and I said, what if we call it Attracting Miracles and My Life as a Miracles Coach? And he said, I like it. He said, I like attracting better, because he said, that's what we do. Right. And then so I started thinking about it. And for years, not even my mother-in-law knew what I did for a living. Most of it, like most of my friends that I went to school with, most of them had no idea like what I did as a coach. A lot of them didn't even know I was a coach until I showed up on Facebook, and they're looking at like, what the heck? Because, I was a pothead. I was a partier. I went to a reform school, and I got into fights all the time. And, I grew up in a home that was really abusive, and my dad, was really verbally and physically abusive. And so I didn't perform really well throughout high school. And I think a lot of people had opinions about me and judgments, right? And so now I show up, and, I've been doing this thing called coaching, for years, and nobody really knew what it was about. So I'd get a lot of questions. So I went back to Joe and I said, because I had this conversation with my mother-in-law, and I actually took her through a clearing process because she had some limiting beliefs about money and people with money. And after I took her through the clearing process, she looked at me and her eyes got really big, and she said, oh my gosh, that's what you do for a living. And I was like, that's what I do for a living. And so I went back to Joe and I said, Joe, the title has evolved. And I said, I'm going to call the book Attracting Miracles and My Secret Life as a Miracles Coach. And I talk about how I discovered the 5 steps of the law of attraction that I'm teaching you guys. That, you got to get clear about what you don't want, and then what you do want. And you got to clear your limiting beliefs. And you've got to visualize your outcomes with feeling. You've got to use creative visualization in the process. And then you've got to learn to surrender the things that you can't control, right? And so my book is basically about my journey of learning these things and then sharing with the reader how they can use these same steps in their life to start getting results in their life. So anyway, you've got to expand what you believe is possible. If I didn't reach out and ask Joe Vitale, hey, do you mind if I write a book about your book? Never would have happened. If I would have just said, oh, well, he's Joe Vitale, and, just. So anyway, so if you knew that you couldn't fail, story. What would your goals be? So let's talk. This is this right here. If you didn't get anything else from this presentation, but this equation right here, this is going to be a brain nugget. So you want to write this down. The meaning that you give to your experiences, it determines the emotions that then create your beliefs, right? The meaning that you give to experience determines the emotions that then create your beliefs. So for instance, maybe I'm 6 years old. I'm at the circus. the clowns are coming by. I've had a cold for a week. My nose is sore. I've been blowing my nose, right? And a clown walks up to me and reaches out and honks my 6-year-old nose. And I'm thinking, ow, that really hurt. Well, all of a sudden I've had this experience, and I've given meaning to that experience, right? Which is that, oh, that clown was mean. And it triggers a feeling that I'm really sad. Now I'm crying, because this clown was mean to me, and forever I'm going to carry this belief that clowns are mean. And, and I filter all of that through whatever level I'm able to reason around that. And logic doesn't matter. It all comes down to what I felt about that experience, right? Because limiting beliefs are emotional. They're not logical at all. Anytime you come to the realization of a belief, it's very easy to try to talk yourself out of it with logic, right? Well, but I know that that's not true, right? Or, why do I even believe that? That's silly. But the reality is that whether you know it or not, limiting beliefs are 100% emotional. There's no logic involved at all. So eliminating the old beliefs allows you to create new beliefs in its place. But in order to do that, you've got to eliminate the emotional connection, right? You've got to be able to undo that emotional wiring and replace it with new wiring. Now, the same thinking, right, that created the belief can't eliminate the belief. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to do something new. We've got to get some new information, right? And so first, we've got to clear out the old belief. And this is the coup de grace right here, folks. This is the 5 steps of clearing limiting beliefs that's going to allow you to completely overhaul your mindset, so that whether it's business, whether it's relationships, whether it's hobbies, maybe you want to be a better mountain biker, whatever it is for you, right? These 5 steps are how you're going to overhaul your mindset so that you can create new beliefs. But first, we got to get rid of the old beliefs. So let's start, and I'm going to take you through this. So the first step is we've got to identify the limiting belief. Now, one of the assignments I gave you was to write down the things that you don't want, and then to ask, why am I not free from that yet? The second thing I asked you to do was write down the things that you do want and ask yourself, why don't I have that? Right? So the answer is your belief, right? Or maybe there's a counter intention. I want to lose some weight, but I'm not going to the gym. I'm not drinking water. Deep inside, I believe that I'm just genetically disposed to be overweight, right? So that's a belief. So whatever the belief is for you, you got to clearly identify it, and you want to create a statement of belief, right? The statement may be, I'm not worthy of success, or, I could never do what so-and-so does because, they're just better than me, or whatever it is. So you want to identify the limiting belief, okay? The next step is you want to identify and measure the feeling of the belief. Now, this is sometimes a little more difficult because when you start getting into feelings, well, how do you know that the feeling is attached to that belief? And this is a great exercise. So I want you to think of a limiting belief that you have, Luke. So I'm going to ask you to get a little vulnerable here. So think of a limiting belief that you're still carrying around.
Well, one of it is speaking,
Okay.
speaking as articulate as, I really admire the way you speak. And, while you're going through this presentation, this is something that I kind of had to really work really hard at, because growing up, I didn't really, kind of grew up in a way where it was more, we didn't speak that proper. There's a lot of swearing, cussing.
Same here. Like, yeah. Like for me, every other word was the F word when I was a kid.
Yeah.
From the time that I was real small,
Yeah, and it's still to this day, I still speak like that. But I mean, I had to really be conscious of how I speak, and listening to speakers like yourself and everybody else on the panel. It's one thing that I feel that I need to improve on, and sometimes there's that past that creeps into my head, like, hey man, these guys are, what am I going to do when I interview these guys? I'm gonna look like a fool because I can't speak as well as them. So that's me being vulnerable now. There you go.
So the belief is people are going to think that I'm foolish.
Right. Right.
So is that what it sounds like to you? Like if you were to put it in a sentence, how would you word it?
Well, I'd say I'd word it as, you know, how is this guy, how does this guy have a podcast and he can bring all these people together and he is, he's not as articulate as his speakers.
Okay. So the belief is I'm not articulate.
There you go. Yeah, that's it.
Very simple. So, okay, so what I want you to do is I just want you to relax a little bit. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to look down at your stomach, like towards your navel. And I want you just to get centered. I want you to put all of your attention on your stomach. And I just want you to say out loud 3 or 4 times, just evenly, I'm not articulate. And I want you to focus on what the feeling is that comes up in you and where it comes up inside you. So just say it 3 or 4 times and just allow yourself to feel the feeling of the belief and where it is in your body. And it could come up anywhere. So just pay real close attention. Go ahead.
And you want me to do this verbally, like out?
Yep, just say it out loud.
Say it out loud?
Yep, okay. Because with kinesiology, you have to state things as a statement of fact. And so go ahead.
Okay. I'm not articulate. I'm not articulate. I'm not articulate. I'm not articulate. Is that 4 times?
Yep. Yeah. So what did you notice? What did you notice inside?
I started slouching more and more.
Okay. It affected your posture. Okay. Yeah. So on a scale from 0 to 10, how intense would you say the feeling was around that?
I'd give it a 6 to 7. Yeah.
Good. All right. 6. Perfect. So hold on to that. So you've identified and you've measured the feeling of the belief. That's step number 2. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now what we're going to do is we're going to apply a clearing process. Right. And folks, you can find any clearing process. There are lots of different ones out there. The one that I'm going to use is based in a technique called neuro-linguistic programming. So what I want you to do, Luke, is I want you to close your eyes and I want you to look at that energy and I want you to assign a color to it. So just any color that comes to mind, the first color, it doesn't mind what. It doesn't matter what. Blue. Good. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a deep breath and I want you to see your breath come into your body and just see it wrap itself around all of that blue energy, okay? And just notice as the breath comes in, it's going to find that energy, it's going to wrap it all up, and when you feel ready, I just want you to exhale and allow your breath to carry the energy right out of your body, and it's just going to gather right in front of you. And once it gathers in front of you, I just want you to just say out loud, it's all outside of me now. Now, if you have to pull on it like a string or like a ribbon, just imagine pulling that energy right out of your body and just say out loud, it's all outside of me once it's out.
It's all outside of me.
Okay, now take a good look at it. I just want you to look at it and notice it, acknowledge that it's there. Then I want you to imagine reaching out and grabbing it and spinning it to the right in a counterclockwise direction, like you'd spin a ball or a globe. And once it's spinning, just leave it there. Okay, now I want you to go back to a time when you really felt confident. It could be any time in your life, right, where you really felt not just confident, but you felt certain about what you were doing. And you felt like you had authority, right? It could be speaking to a group, or it could be, something like an award that you maybe received, or something that you did where you really got the sense that you felt really confident, that you felt certain about what you were doing, and you felt competent, right? That you felt capable. And once you have that, just say, okay, I've got it.
Got it.
Okay, now I want you to see that as though you're seeing it through your eyes. You're not going to see yourself in the picture. You're going to see the picture through your own eyes as though you're reliving it. And I want you to make it really big. I want you to blow it up like it's on the IMAX. And I want you to pull everything really in close, like you're sitting and seeing it all happen from the front row. Now I want you to make all the light really bright. I want you to intensify all the color that you remember from that scene. Right? If there are people in the picture, I want you to see them smiling and they're looking right at you and they're radiant. And everything's happening really big. And I want you to get really in touch with that. And I want you to identify a color that you could put on the feeling of what was happening in that experience?
It's a light blue.
Good. Okay, so I want you to grab a hold of the energy that's spinning. I want you to stop it, take a good look at it like you're looking it in the eye, and then I want you to spin it the other direction and watch it change. It's going to change to the new color. And once it's all changed, just say, it's all changed.
It's all changed.
Okay, now I want you to grab it and pull it back into your body. Just splash it against yourself like a water balloon, and it's going to, bam, it's going to go to the top of your head and down to the tips of your toes, and it's going to keep spinning in that clockwise direction. And as it spins, it's going to tattoo itself to every cell of the inside of your body. It's going to be filled with that beautiful energy, causing you to forget now, to remember, and remember now to forget that you ever had any other feeling at all about this idea that you're somehow not articulate. And so go ahead and take a deep breath. Okay. Now, go ahead and look back down at your stomach and say out loud 3 or 4 times, I'm not articulate, and I want you to see if there's anything left. And tell me what comes up for you.
I'm not articulate. I'm not articulate. I'm not articulate. I'm not articulate. I don't feel that heaviness in there at all. Should I open my eyes?
Yeah, open your eyes.
Yeah, so go ahead.
So go ahead and say, I am articulate.
I am articulate.
Okay, and what do you get now? Say that out loud 3 or 4 times.
I am articulate. I am articulate, and I am articulate.
Now imagine yourself on stage in front of people, and tell me what your posture is. What do you see when you see yourself in front of people?
And I already feel myself. My posture is like erecting right now.
Yeah,
I'm straight up right now. So I mean.
So that color, that light blue, that's for whatever reason your subconscious has associated that as being a power color for you. So the thing is, even if you wear like a black pullover, like a black button-down shirt, maybe find like some light blue t-shirts or light blue button-downs, things that you can associate with that confidence color. And really, because what that will do is it helps you anchor back to this feeling that you've had that we've created together. So that's the clearing process, right? So we've applied a clearing process. We remeasured. We've got to know if what we're doing actually works, right? So once we do a clearing technique, I always ask a student, hey, let's go back and remeasure. Let's see what we got out of what we did. If we don't make progress, right? Or if we make some progress, but we don't clear it completely, then what we get is an opportunity to repeat, right? So we've got to repeat if necessary. I often tell people to rinse and repeat. And so those are the 5 steps of how to clear a limiting belief. This is crucial. I spent years doing personal development where it was like affirmations and positive thinking and goal setting and doing all of these things, but I didn't know how to undo all of the negative programming that came from my childhood and from school and from, other situations. And I'll tell you what, this is the key to overhauling your mindset, man. If you can learn to do this, which you can, right? I just gave you the secret right here. If you can learn to do this, if you're willing to learn to do this, it'll change everything for you. You've got to understand. Now, this is what Luke said early on in the presentation. I said that I would get to this, right? That it starts inside, that whatever you do inside is going to shape the world around you. It's not the other way around, right? It comes down to your mindset. Folks, you can do this. You can learn to do everything that I've just taught you about clearing limiting beliefs. And when you do, you never, ever, ever again in any way have to be a victim of anything, right? You can be in complete control and you will determine your destiny. And that's what I have for you.
I love it. I love it, Gregory. I wanted to comment on a couple words you mentioned. Just a last slide is that, if it's not working the first time, you get to rinse and repeat.
That's right.
And I wanted to touch on the fact that, nothing is a magic pill, right?
That's
of course, it's very tough at the beginning, but it's also like working out, right? You don't see Mr. Olympia working out only once, and then he's Mr. Universe or Mr. Olympia. You don't see that happening, and you don't see people losing weight after one workout. 70 pounds after one workout. So you got to keep
Right.
doing it. And your mind is like a muscle,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what you need to do is it's not going to be, one time. It's going to happen. They're going to get into some struggles, right, Gregory?
That's right.
If,
But you
if
know
they're
what?
not used to this type of stuff.
Yeah, if you're not struggling, you're not trying. If you're not
Love it.
struggling, I've learned that successful people fail more than unsuccessful people, because unsuccessful people, they don't try anything. They don't do anything. They don't take any risk, right? It goes
Mhm.
back to what I was saying earlier about Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey said, you got to jump, and yeah, you're going to hit the cliff, right? And some of your clothes are going to get ripped off, and you're going to get banged up a little bit, but that's just part of succeeding. I don't look at that as failure. I don't fail. I win or I learn, and that's it, right? The only way I'm failing is if I don't try, or if I quit before I get to the end. But if I believe that there's something out there for me, and I know that desire was put in me by some divine source, the only way I could ever fail is if I quit. If I'm
Mhm.
constantly working on my mindset and I'm constantly overhauling my beliefs, the only thing I can do is win, right? What else is there?
Yeah, and if you have that deep burning passion to with this end goal in mind, you're not going to care if you fall on your face 20, 30 times. It's going to be more than 20, 30 times, but
Yeah.
you're not going to care about that, and you're not going to care about what people think, because what people think are none of your business, right? What
Yeah,
you think
especially
is
what they
your
think about you, right? What they think about you is
exactly.
none of your business.
Yeah, exactly. And what Gregory showed us today is, to get involved in your business, which is yourself,
Mhm.
and get those limiting beliefs, that negative conversation that you're having with yourself, the judging of yourself, and
Mhm.
all that nonsense that is gonna, hold you back from achieving what you want to achieve. So this stuff, man, it's gold. This is gold. So your book. Let's
Yeah.
talk about your book. We talked about your book a little bit. I'm
Mhm.
going to put a link down below on how they can get that.
Yeah.
With the
So the book is actually due out. So I'm actually waiting on my review from Jack Canfield, and so he's going to be on the front cover, and that's awesome. If I didn't ask, it wouldn't have happened, right? I just had to
Mhm.
believe he would do it. So I
Mhm.
reached out to Jack. He's reading it right now. He's going to write a review. The book's due out here in the next couple of weeks. But if you want to follow me and find out more about the book and follow when it's going to be released and how you can get a signed copy, you want to go to Facebook and just do a Facebook search on Attracting Miracles book. Go ahead and join my group, and but by the time you hear this, the book will probably be out. So go to Facebook and put in Attracting Miracles book. You can also go to Amazon.com and just search Attracting Miracles. The subtitle is "And My Secret Life as a Miracles Coach," and everything that you could want to know about the book will be available on Facebook and through Amazon.com. Or you can just go to Barnes and Noble or wherever paperbacks are sold, and you'll be able to find it hard copy on the shelves as well.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So yeah, you guys will get the link below this video session. And again, thanks a lot, Gregory. You made. I had a very stressful day today. Now, like I feel like all this tension is out of my body right now. So
That's
it's been
awesome. Hey,
awesome.
that's why I'm here, right?
You got me to be vulnerable. So I don't even, I'm not vulnerable. But, I gotta get used to that. I gotta get used to being like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Gregory.
Thank
Talk
you.
to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Take care.